Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman. We're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. Lance, thank you for joining us. Chris Hearn, President and CEO of Fountainhead, one of the 14 non-bank license holders, and Katie Roach out of Seattle. Well, I can't say Seattle. Out of undisclosed out of Northwest Washington. Thank you all for joining us. Chris, thank you. Chris, I am sure a year ago when you put together your budget that you nailed all of your your new product lines, right?
Oh, absolutely. For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
No, well, we appreciate your time. Hey, we're getting some excellent response on our hospitality financing and what's going to be happening in 2021. And we're updating that as we speak. And that's always a lot of fun and talking to lenders. So since we had you, Chris, we'll start off with you. Hospitality, are you even looking at them? Are you looking at construction, or are you just adopting a wait and see attitude?
No, we're looking at hospitality. We've got a number of hospitality projects that are in various stages of construction already. Things have been delayed a little bit this year, as you'd expect, but we're still looking at hospitality projects very selectively. We'd like to see better quality, more mid-tier flags. We'd like to see a little bit better historical performance, even though that seems a little ironic given how the hospitality industry has probably performed over the last 6 months or so. But there's some good stuff out there. You gotta kiss a lot of frogs, as they say. But we're seeing some, and we don't want to turn away perfectly good business. And we'd like to be the newest constructed hotel on a block when things turn.
We're not accusing people of fraud, but you are very reluctant to finance something where, say, it was 1.5 million 2 years ago, and all of a sudden they come in and they're showing a value of 2.5 million. You sort of.
Yeah, that'll be a tough one. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's not too many of that happening these days, though, Bob. I think people understand that the valuations have taken a little bit of a hit.
Yeah, and there's for example, Ashford Hospitality. Hands back the keys to the lender, and they're a huge operator. I think that Boston Hilton don't know anyway, but a lot of that's going on. Hey, so There's the order form. Please take advantage of that. It's my webinar. Lance, you're the color commentator for that.
I continue, Bob, to watch NFL football to practice up on my color commentary. Now, Chris made a great point. I think you can do hospitality because if you're the newest flag on the block, there are some that are going to struggle, and when those have trouble and maybe close, if I travel, and I think everyone else on the show, if you travel and you're staying in a specific location, you're going to stay in the nicest, newest property there.
Yep.
Yeah. Very good. There's the certificate, and be sure and download that. And we have a number of poll questions. And so, and this is hospitality specific. So what is your credit box outlook for 2021? Chris, Lance and I have talked about several times, unlike 2008, this will come to end, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. We just don't know if it's going to be 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years, but at some point in time, we will get back to normal. The dynamics are so much more significant or different than they were back in 12 years ago. But the hospitality construction, you have to plan on that coming online, and also revenues. Chris, I assume that the revenues that you're looking at have dropped significantly in these operations.
Yeah, interesting, sort of a fascinating dynamic that's occurred, which is, believe it or not, some of the lower tier flags are outperforming from an occupancy standpoint than the middle tier flags. And the middle tier flags are going to be things, and I don't mean to pick on these brands, but sort of the Marriotts, the Hiltons, the things that would attract the business traveler. There hasn't been a lot of business travel. But you look at lower tier flags, some of the choice flags, for instance, or maybe even Best Westerns or things of that nature, Comfort Inns, the Super 8s, the Motel 6s, they're actually holding up so much better than anybody would have thought. And some of that is because the dynamics of travel in the pandemic. You see a lot more Americans driving places. You have some overflow from medical staff with a lot of, since they're working around the clock in many cases, they're staying and quarantining at motels, hotels. So we've seen this a number of times. We have a couple in our portfolio right now that we didn't expect them to perform as well as they are. They performed extremely well pre-COVID, but they've held up so much better. And I think it's because people just, they're not pursuing sort of the mid tiers, and they're not as concerned about getting their points and all the other things that are oftentimes drivers of the typical business traveler. They just want some place that's cheap and close by and clean. And
Katie, you actually did this. You moved during the pandemic from Southern California up to the Northwest. Tell us about that experience. How was that?
Well, I was just thinking through that as Chris was talking, and yeah, we did stay in a lot of those lower end ones that not motels or anything, but things that like a Quality Inn, things like that felt clean and safe. I didn't really have any problem with any of the ones we stayed in. I think they're handling that pretty well. Clear up until we got up here, we stayed in a local hotel here that's not a chain, but it feels pretty safe to actually travel right now.
Great, I appreciate that input. What industry are you focusing on most in 2021? In other words, is there a particular niche that you are aggressively pursuing? And you can vote for more than one.
Well, there's certainly two on that list that I like the best.
Which are?
I like dentists. Dentists, a friend of mine said most dentists have a printing press in the back room to print money. And healthcare continues to perform pretty well, in my opinion, because of the aging population. Not afraid of C-stores, depending on where they're located, but dentists, a great category.
Chris, what about you?
Well, again, I don't really have a problem with most of the stuff on this list. Believe it or not, I actually like service providers, contractor types. So the construction is sort of closest to that.
Yeah, that's booming.
Yeah, everybody's doing home improvements, and people got pipes that get clogged, and they got electrical issues, and I think those are good, solid, salt of the earth businesses. I'm not shocked that the bankers on the call on the webinar picked dentists and healthcare. Obviously, everybody in the lending community loves to do those types of
congratulations. And Thomas, USAF, they're experts in picking niches. They'd love to go after niches so no one else does. They'd love to go to Alaska, Guam, and here's one, St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands. They did a USDA B&I loan, that's rural, for comprehensive orthopedics. So you got a niche of geography, you have a niche in healthcare, and I like lenders who have a strategy for going after certain niches. Because once you master hotel construction, the first one you got to learn this stuff, but then the second, third, and fourth one are a little bit easier to put together and cheaper for the lender. Correct?
Well, one would hope, yeah. One would hope you don't make the same mistakes twice. Yes, in general, it's once you can pick a niche and you can become a specialist at it, it does make the process easier for the lender as well as the borrowers.
We'd like to ask this question. It's going up every time we ask it. Katie, what was the last number we had?
I don't actually have that, Sal. I'll try to find it real quick.
I think it was below the 20%. I think I'm guessing on that. But what do we have here? Here we go. 54%. Very good.
54.
Was last time.
What was it last time?
Looks like we were at 24%.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. I'm glad to see that. And then the next one, here we go. Has anybody got one?
I'll be surprised.
Yeah, especially with the new forms. Yeah.
Ah, we got one. We got a couple, looks like. Joseph, how many do we have actually? 2 votes on that? 3 votes?
Just one.
Just the one vote. Okay, you got the 1%. Congratulations. Hey, I want to talk about Blake's questionnaire, or actually more of a comment. And Lance, you will get a kick out of this. Joseph, if you could advance to that slide, and then we'll come back to the poll question. Okay. All right, we'll go back. Ask the poll question, and then we'll go talk to Blake. So the poll question is, have you received a notice of a PPP loan review? And this is on a specific loan, correct, Lance?
That would be correct.
Chris, have you got any of these?
We've gotten one, yeah.
All right, here's Blake's experience. The loan was for $3,600.
Oh my goodness.
Simple calculation. We have submitted one, and then he has the, we took it out. It was great. We had a snarky comment in there about, I guess he should play the lottery.
Yeah.
I assume these are just on the draw, and it's a random sample. But this one seems a little.
Yeah, my guess is SBA can't just target $2 million and up loans, or can't just target. I mean, they have to take a sample of smaller ones too. And Blake, you're right. You should play the lottery. It looks like you got the lucky draw there. But,
David, that was.
A $3,600 PPP loan, I can't imagine unless there's some fraud issue.
But he submitted 20% of his loans, and 40% have received forgiveness minus idle. And this is the first and only one we have received a request. So I thought, yeah. So they're reviewing them, and that's okay. Let's see. Wrapping up on our Main Street lending program. Any loose ends on that, Katie?
I just kind of, after looking over it, I think something I didn't really highlight too much yesterday was the change to the fees for lenders. Looking into that, before that was going to be basically just the, based on the size of the loan. And they've adjusted that for smaller loans now. For loans under $250,000, that's going to be 200 basis points of the principal amount of the loan at the time of origination, which I think is going to encourage maybe just a few more lenders to be interested in this, because before it really incentivized lenders to not really take those smaller loans at all.
Chris, if you, what are the 2 or 3 changes you'd like to see? We talked about this. We have a $600 billion with the B dollar allocation. We've used $3.7 billion, only 400 loans. What are just a couple quick changes that would make it attractive for you as a lender?
Well, I think they need to fully flesh out the credit decisioning. I think there's still a lot of confusion over it. There's still a lot of uncertainties over it from the lending community. I think they ought to consider extending the terms of these loans, unlike PPP, which is really meant to be a grant. It'll be forgiven, hopefully, if they use the proceeds correctly. These loans they have a pretty aggressive repayment, at least in years 3 through 5, as it's presently structured, and I think that could cause some problems for some potential applicants. And I just think there needs to be just better guidance on how these could be beneficial, not just for the borrowers, but also for the lending community. And I'm afraid if it's been kind of a mess up to this point. You just cited the statistics, Bob. I mean, I just think this thing's fallen on its flat on its face.
Right. It never took off.
And I don't think it's going to unless they make some fundamental changes and they get some of this guidance from the lending community. Otherwise, it's great that Powell can say he's got $600 billion to put to work, but it doesn't mean a hill of beans if you can't actually get to it. And therefore, I think you're going to see people continue to push for, second draw PPP as a alternative to the Main Street lending program.
Well, hopefully after the election. Go ahead, Lance.
I was just going to add to what Chris is right on point. The repayment on these loans can be pretty devastating in years 3, 4, and 5. What they should do is a Main Street lending program loan with 1-year deferment and then a 10-year AM that follows it with just normal principal and interest payments. Simplify that, because I think not only are participant banks a little distant. I think a borrower, if they look at that repayment structure, Chris, is going to say that's a recipe for failure 3 or 4 years down the road.
Yeah. I'd like to see some, and maybe this is too idealistic, but I would love to see the Fed work with SBA to augment the existing SBA programs, be it 7A or PPP, and utilize some of this availability, utilizing the private sector lenders who know how to do this daily, who are accustomed to working with SBA. The problem with this one is you're working with the Boston Fed branch, and these folks aren't accustomed to making loans to small to mid-sized businesses like all the rest of us are working with SBA on a daily basis. So I just think there's a lot of fundamental issues and problems here, and everybody focuses on 600 billion, and it's kind of it's maddening because that's a big number, and yet fractionally put out to the marketplace. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, hopefully after all of the election is over, things will become a little bit more clear on terms of all these programs. I know that's what we're waiting for. Hey, Katie, talk about our nomination program. The deadline is Friday, and these are the categories. Please, we don't need, a short paragraph's fine, just highlight of accomplishments. We're very proud to do this to give back to the industry. And Katie, what are the categories that we have?
So we've added the PPP Lender of the Year. That's going to be a new one. But there's also just some great ones. There's Main Street Lender of the Year, SBA 7A, and 504 Lenders of the Year. We also look at rural and mission-based lenders, Secondary Market Person of the Year, Woman Lender of the Year, emerging SBA lenders that's under 40, and SBA Business Development Officers of the Year. I think there's still quite a few of those that we're looking for people for, so you have a fairly good chance of winning something if you apply. So it's
Go ahead and apply. Everyone gets a certificate, and I know we're not going to have our annual lunch on this, but we will have. We've done a couple of virtual presentations, so we get everyone on a Zoom call, and we go from there. Bring me the question, please. All right, Chris, you've won a couple of our awards. What?
Yeah, I was your 504 Lender of the Year 1 year.
A long time ago, weren't you emerging lender under 40? That's you're no longer eligible for that. I'll tell you.
Yeah, I'm way beyond eligibility at this point, Bob.
Shane asked.
Way beyond.
Shane asked, anyone having issues with SBA shorting the interest payments? We've had loans paid back with interest anywhere from 1 to 18 days short. That's interesting.
Interesting. I would use the question section, the submission, and ask.
Yeah, that's the first I've heard of that as well.
Yeah,
hey, thank you all for joining us. We appreciate your time. We know you're busy. Go out and vote, and we should have some interesting news tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Have a great day, and go vote.
Take care, everybody.